We all learn this in school, right? A plant comes from a seed, you plant it, water it, and boom, a new plant. It seems so simple. But what if I told you that some of the most common plants you have in your kitchen, like potatoes, don't even use seeds? Turns out, plants have this whole secret life when it comes to making more plants, and honestly, it's way more fascinating than you might think. Let's dig in. It really all starts with a question that maybe you've even asked yourself. If plants come from seeds, then where are the seeds for a potato? Or what about sugarcane? Or a rose bush? It's a fantastic question, and once you start looking for the answer, it opens up this entire hidden world. And that's because the answer shows us that plants have a completely different way to create new life. It's this really powerful method that, well, it doesn't need seeds at all. And the craziest part? This solution has been hiding right in front of us this whole time. Plants can actually create new life using the very parts we see every single day: their stems, their roots, and their leaves. This brings us to our first big idea: asexual reproduction. Now, put simply, this means some plants can literally clone themselves. They can create a brand new genetically identical plant from just a little piece of the original. So let's start with our big mystery: the potato. You know those little sprouts you see on a potato that's been sitting in your kitchen for a bit too long? Well, those aren't just random growths. Each one of those eyes is actually a vegetative bud. It's like a complete starter kit for a whole new potato plant ready to go. And hey, it's the exact same story with ginger. You can see these new shoots and roots just popping right out from the main piece. If you were to plant this chunk of ginger, it would grow into a full new plant, a perfect little copy of its parent. This even works for plants like roses. You can literally just take a cutting, a small piece of the stem, stick it in the soil, and it will grow its own roots and become a whole new bush. No seed required. Pretty amazing, right? This whole process, it actually has a name. It's called vegetative propagation. It's just a type of asexual reproduction where new plants are made from the roots, stems, leaves, or buds of just a single parent plant. The potato, the ginger, the rose, they're all perfect examples of this in action. So this brings up a pretty logical question, doesn't it? Why would plants do this? I mean, if making seeds works just fine, what's the big advantage of having this whole other system? Well, there are some huge advantages. First off, it's fast, way faster. These plants take a lot less time to grow and start producing flowers and fruit compared to plants grown from a seed. And second, the new plant is an exact copy, a clone. So if the parent plant is super strong and healthy, this method guarantees that its offspring will be too. And vegetative propagation isn't the only way plants do this. Take yeast, for example. It reproduces through a process called budding, where a tiny new cell just grows right off the side of the parent and then pops off. It's an incredibly efficient way to multiply. Then there's an even simpler method called fragmentation. You have organisms like this algae, Spirogyra, that can just break into pieces, and each one of those fragments just grows into a whole new individual. It's about as direct as reproduction can get. Okay, so that's the world of cloning and copying. But now let's switch gears and talk about that other grand strategy, the one we're all a bit more familiar with: sexual reproduction, and the incredible story of the seed. And this story starts deep inside the flower, which holds all the plant's reproductive parts. You've got the stamen, that's the male part, and it produces these tiny little grains of pollen. And then you have the pistil, the female part, which holds the ovules just waiting to be fertilized. The whole journey unfolds in three main steps. First step is pollination, where pollen has to travel from a stamen over to a pistil. Next comes fertilization. This is where the male and female reproductive cells, the gametes, fuse together. And finally, after that fusion, the ovule develops into a seed, and inside that seed is an embryo for the next generation. But, just making a seed is only half the battle. Think about it. Plants can't move, so they face this huge challenge. How do you get your seeds away from home so they can find a new place to grow? This is where plants get really, really clever. So plants have evolved to use all sorts of dispersal agents to get their seeds on the move. They use the wind, they use water, they use animals to do the job for them. Some plants even create these tiny explosions to literally fling their seeds as far away as possible. I mean, just look at some of these elegant designs for wind travel. You have the maple seed with its wings that make it spin like a little helicopter, so the wind can carry it for miles. Or you have other seeds, like the madar seed, that use these super fine hairs to make a sort of parachute, just catching the breeze and floating away. Other seeds are basically professional hitchhikers. The xanthium seed, for example, is covered in these little hooks and spines. It's perfectly designed to latch onto the fur of some unsuspecting animal that walks by, getting a free ride to a whole new spot before it finally falls off. And why is all this travel so incredibly important? Well, it's all about preventing competition. Just think, if all the seeds just fell straight down below the parent plant, they'd all be fighting for the exact same sunlight, the same water, the same nutrients. Spreading out gives each one a much, much better shot at survival. So there we have it. We've seen two totally different paths to creating new plant life. One is all about making quick copies, and the other is about mixing things up and traveling the world. Let's put them side by side and see how they compare. Okay, here's the breakdown of the core differences. Asexual reproduction, that just needs one parent, it produces an exact clone, and it's super fast. On the other hand, sexual reproduction requires two parents, it creates a brand new combination of genetic traits, and yeah, it's a slower process. When you step back and look at it, plants have this powerful two-part toolkit for survival. Asexual reproduction gives them speed and certainty, and sexual reproduction gives them genetic variety, which is absolutely the key to adapting to change and building resilience for the long haul. So this kind of leaves us with one last thought. You know, from helicopter blades that mimic maple seeds to the invention of Velcro, which was inspired by burrs sticking to fur, nature has already solved so many of our engineering problems. It really makes you wonder, what other amazing human innovations out there were first inspired by the ingenious life of plants?